Hello, everyone. It's your girl, Gabrielle. Welcome to a brand new episode of Hot Topics. Let me tell you what this show is about for those of you who are new to the show, or maybe you just need a refresher. So, this is a show where we like to have that real talk about real things, right? We like to have these open dialogues. We like to put it all out there in the open, all for the purpose of educating you. And the topics that we tend to focus on entrepreneurship, empowerment, education. We've done episodes about homeschooling, resiliency, self care, all that good stuff. And today, I am excited about today because I not only do I have a brand new guest that's going to join me on the hot seat, but I have a brand new topic. I'm excited about that. So let me tell you what the new topic is today. The new topic is gig work. That's right. So today we're going to be talking about gig work. I am totally looking forward to discussing this. And I'm sure some of you are like, what are you talking about? So we'll get into it into the show. But in terms of gig work, I, I'm going to reference things like Uber Eats, like Lyft, Uber, the taxi one. What else? Postmates, DoorDash, all those gig only jobs. And we're going to reference that throughout the show. So, my guest, let me tell you who my guest is. Oh, I didn't ask how to pronounce her name. All right. Well, I have Terra Carbert. I hope I'm saying that right. And let me tell you who she is. She hosts that Ambitious Addicts podcast and is the founder of the Self Discovery Sisterhood, where she helps women make up their minds to finally go after what they truly want and intentionally reinvent their lives. Beautiful. All right, let me bring her to the stage. Hi, Tara. How you doing?
Hi, I'm good. Thank you so much for having me to talk about this topic.
Yeah, did I say your name right? Tara
You
Carbert.
said it 100% right. And like telemarketers will call me and be like, "Can I speak to Terra Cabaret?" You said it exactly correctly. Terra Carbert.
Fabulous, fabulous. I definitely want to make sure I say your name right. All right. Well, thank you for coming on the show. Thank you for coming on the hot seat to talk about this. I definitely want to have this discussion. So let's get right into it. I want to dive into your experience with gig work and what it is and what it's done for you and all that good stuff. So let's get into what it is. So, can you tell the public what is gig work?
Yeah, that's a broad topic, but it is a hot topic right now because I think we're seeing more and more gig work options where somebody has the option to plug in and be working on behalf of an organization, but not directly for the organization. So you're becoming an independent contractor for an organization to complete the services that they're promising to their customers, or you're offering yourself freelance in a gig capacity. So I've done that in a few different ways. One, Uber Eats is not one. DoorDash, Grubhub, and Shipped are the ones that I engaged in personally on my entrepreneurship journey. Others that are available in my market are Uber, Uber Eats, Lyft, Postmates. They're all options. And I think Fiverr is a global option where you can plug in and get gig assignments. But the ones that most of us are familiar with are the ones where a third party driver or contract worker is coming in and doing the service that's promised to you by that parent organization.
All right, all right. Thank you for defining that. So basically, because personally have done Postmates, I've done Deliv, I've done TaskRabbit.
Oh, we forgot that one.
Yeah, TaskRabbit. What else have I done? I think those are the main ones. That's what's coming to me right now. Deliv, TaskRabbit, and Postmates. So basically, it's like you're an independent contractor, right? You don't actually work for the company. It's sort of like it's you're your own business, and the main company is outsourcing to you pretty much,
That's it.
and they're using you uh to do certain tasks. I don't know how to explain
Yeah.
that,
Yeah,
but
I mean, yeah, and they're hiring you basically to serve their customers, but within really specific terms and not as an employee, which has some positives to it as well. I think we hear about a lot of the negatives in the news, but for me, there was a lot of positives.
yeah, yeah, and yeah. So you're not an employee. That's a big thing there, right? You're expected to use your own vehicle, or your own. You're expected to cover your own expenses. Um, I think when I did Postmates, they reimbursed mileage though.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think they reimbursed mileage. They gave me that, but generally you're expected to cover your own expenses, travel expenses, car repair, gas, all that good stuff. But yeah, so it's not a 9 to 5 job. You're pretty much are paid per task. So of course, the more tasks you do, the more you get paid. I think there are some hourly ones. I think Instacart, is that hourly? Do
I
you?
never worked for
Oh
Instacart.
yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. Mine were all, experiences where I would get to see up front, like, an estimated payout or a payout, kind of a minimum, it's gonna pay you at least this, and then all of them also had a tip add-on option for the person who was receiving the service from me. So, once I'd completed, I would see for 2 of them. Once I was done, I would see, okay, here's what the organization paid you, and here's the tip the customer gave you on top of that.
Yeah. I know TaskRabbit is technically hourly, but it's still per task because if you do one task, they'll give you, 1 hour pay. So but yeah, that's hopefully we've explained this to you guys, the audience. It's not a nine
I
to
thi
five job. It's basically you're being paid per task and you're not an employee, you're an independent contractor. So
I
now,
Can I jump in just on one of the things you said that's
yes,
really
yes.
important for people to know? If you are doing gig work, you are a business owner, and
Mhm.
you absolutely should be tracking all of your expenses because as a business owner, you have the opportunity to be writing off those expenses against your revenue to reduce your tax liability.
All right, elaborate further on that.
Okay, so I had, a lot of miles put on my car while I was doing DoorDash, Grubhub, and Shipped. And I tracked all of the miles. And those miles are an expense to me. And the government has a set standard business deduction rate for every mile that you drive. At the time, it was 55 cents. I don't know what it is today. It's probably somewhere around there. So at the end of the year, I'm just going to throw a real like round number. So if I made $20,000 and my mileage expense was $5,000, I'm only going to have to pay taxes. This assumes mileage is the only expense, but there's more. I only have to pay taxes on the income after expenses. And it's really important that we track those expenses so we're not paying money taxes into money that we really didn't earn because it was spent operating our business. And absolutely, mileage is a business operation expense. So is your cell phone. So is your auto insurance if you're using your car 100% for this. And obviously, I'm not a tax professional, so you must talk to a tax advisor. But I think a lot of the people who get into the gig economy are reeled in with the bonuses that some of these organizations offer, do X number of deliveries, make this much money, and they don't know that they have this opportunity to maximize what they get to keep.
Yeah, yeah. And that's the thing too. Like that's what, and You're right. You're right about that. You are, so that's another thing. You are self-employed, right? So you are self-employed according to the IRS. So what does that mean, right? So you, I think they would give you a 1099 if you made,
Yes. Oh,
yeah,
yeah. No, they do. If you were employed, they would give you a W-2 if you were an employee.
right. So if you earn $600 or more within a calendar year, they would give you what's called a 1099. And what that means is um, all of the taxes that would normally be taken out of your check if you were an employee, you actually get those up front, but then those taxes are later taken out in what's called a self-employment tax. So when you file that tax return, you'll be surprised, like, whoa, what is that? Like, it is a self-employment tax, and you do have to pay that. I want to say it's 15% right now.
It's 15.3%. Yes.
Yes, 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 yes. So, and it takes away from your refund. So if you have a refund, the self-employment tax will actually deduct from the refund. Um,
Yeah,
so
assuming that that's your only form of employment. Like, this is why we
yeah,
need tax pros, right? Because if you have a full-time 40-hour-a-week job and they're withholding a bunch of taxes from you, it's possible that your gig work, wouldn't create a greater tax liability, but it's possible that it will. So it's really important to be tracking those expenses and be aware of, if it's your full-time gig, set aside at least 15.3% of your earnings because the feds are going to come knocking for it.
yes, yes. Thank you for clarifying that. So if you have no other income, then yes, then you don't don't even think about a refund if this is your only job. So
Yeah, don't
that's
even
it.
think about one.
All you're doing is paying them taxes. But it's important to track those expenses because that would actually
Yes.
reduces the taxes that you pay. So there you go. There you go. All right. So that's enough educating there. All right. So I'm gonna have you talk about your work experience. Please tell us your life experience working in gig work.
Yeah. Well, I'll talk first about how I got into it. So I had left a corporate role in 2018 and was on my entrepreneurship journey, and stuff started to go south, and I experienced a bit of a business failure in a good way. I learned so many lessons, and I found myself in a position where all this anticipated revenue that was supposed to come in to serve a client was gone overnight. And I was really panicking because I had no anticipated money coming in the door. And I really was committed to staying self employed. I really didn't want to go back to corporate. And someone told me that one of her friends was making decent money doing Shipt. And Shipt is grocery delivery. In my market at the time, it was limited to a couple stores. One of them was Target. I live really close to a couple of Targets. And I thought, okay, let me check this out. They were doing a little promo and trying to recruit new shippers. I don't know, shipped shoppers, I think they called them. And so I jumped on it and I did it. And I really loved that I could be in control of my schedule. Here's when I want to work. And at the same time, I was kind of reinventing, what is it that I want to do as an entrepreneur? Do I want to keep investing in this business, or do I want to make a change? And so once I started doing Shipt and seeing the earning potential there, I also kind of got tired of carrying cat litter and salt and doing, all the running up and down the aisles at the store, trying to get everything and get it on time. And so somebody who was a shopper mentioned that they were also doing DoorDash, and DoorDash was food delivery from the restaurants. Now, mind you, this is end of 2019 heading into 2020. So we get into 2020 and lockdown happens. And everybody is ordering groceries and ordering food. So it was really busy, and a lot of people were really, really grateful to have somebody willing to go out in community, mask up, wash hands, whatever they needed to do to feel safe, and bring them their groceries and their food. So that's the time that I was doing it. And then I added Grubhub and I started multi-apping because I began to think about the gig work as a business owner and thinking about the time I was spending, the expenses that I was incurring, and really noticing that some days that one app might be offering me a bunch of junky opportunities where I'd be barely breaking even for the day or making, a little money, but not enough to consider it a profitable day, if you will. And so I added other apps so that each day I would have the opportunity to turn on or turn off or accept orders or accept tasks from each of those places, and really started to fine tune what I said yes to so that anytime I was scheduled to be making money, I had the opportunity to be making money regardless of if the app was busy or not.
Awesome, awesome.
Yeah.
So it's kind of funny because I from like the other people I've spoken to, and even just reflecting on my own experiences, I feel like people get into gig work um because they want to substitute the work that they already have. So they're looking to fill in all those gaps. Um, People also get into it because they are having a hard time finding a quote unquote real job. So, and gig work is just easy to fall into.
Mhm.
So, like for me, I got into it because um, I was fired from one job, and then the next job I quit. And so I needed something right away. And so I did a random Google search, and, and I found Postmates. So, so I was in
Yep.
a desperate situation.
We both needed money fast. I needed money fast.
So it tends to be the reason why people get into gig work is they need money quickly, or they're looking to substitute the work that they currently have.
Yeah, or supplement it and make some more. I mean, I know a lot of people that were like, "Man, I really wanna go on this vacation. I wanna make an extra couple $1,000s this year so I can do that." And they just plugged in gig work and made some extra money.
So what are the pros and cons of gig work? What do you think?
I think, the pros are that ability to really design your day and choose when you wanna work and when you don't wanna work, and, um, to I mean, I look at the time that I did that, it was also a time that I was going through some personal healing from other things, and, like, to be, in your car listening to your favorite books or podcasts or radio and have some time with yourself to process and think and not be like, yes, you have to meet the demands of each order, but you're not in an environment um, where someone else is in charge of your schedule and your deadlines and how hard you have to push to get something done. You're like, when the day is done, the day is done. You're not going
Mm.
home and having nightmares about a food delivery. I mean, hopefully not.
Hopefully not.
I guess there's one or two maybe that went south, but for the most part, it's kind of it's a job that doesn't like, it takes some mental fortitude to get through the day, and, like, I worked some 12-hour days because I was really trying to bank a lot of money, and, it can get taxing, yes, but the great thing is that if you set a goal, this is how I might operate my week. I would set a monetary goal for the week. If I hit that goal on Wednesday, I could be like, okay, I'm not working Thursday, Friday. I mean, there's no way that I could have done that when working for someone else. Be like, I did enough this week. I'm just gonna unplug now, So that's definitely a pro. I think the other thing that's a pro is that you can really get to serve your community in a really unique way. So the grocery delivery, especially during the pandemic, I can't tell you how many people were, you know, disabled or elderly or ill, and they really had no way to go get groceries. Maybe they didn't have family that could lean on. A lot of my deliveries were to senior living facilities, assisted living facilities. And then kind of fast forward, we're in May of 2020, I live in the Minneapolis area. George Floyd was murdered here, and there was a lot of curfew and lockdown window when the National Guard was present, and some people were afraid to leave their homes, and they um, they also were appreciative. But on the flip side, both of these things. So to talk about the customers being appreciative, but on the flip side, grocery stores didn't really seem to care, but the food providers, the small restaurants in the heart of Minneapolis where streets are barricaded, blocked off, I can get in as a delivery driver. That was allowed. If the restaurant was allowed to be open, I was allowed to go get the food and come out. And those restaurant providers, both through COVID, who during lockdown orders, some of those smaller, the ones that everybody loves in the neighborhood, but no one really knows about, they were so grateful. These services kept many of them open. And so not everyone's going to feel the way I do, but I love people and I love small business. So to be able to get out in community and serve people in this really unique way and support my local businesses in a really unique way was super special.
Yeah, and I noticed that too, during the lockdown here in New York. Our governor was really pushing, like he was encouraging people, stay inside, unless you're an essential worker. If you're not an essential worker, don't go out, stay inside. And he was really pushing, like, don't go to a restaurant, order out, order out. And so he kept pushing that message. And so, of course, deliveries exploded. So, and restaurants, indoor dining, it, shut down. It was like a ghost town. So, of course, a lot of restaurants had to pivot to deliveries. And so having something like Grubhub, DoorDash, I'm sure that exploded for them during the lockdown. And, being in TaskRabbit, like even TaskRabbit exploded. I've gotten a lot of tasks done with a lot of grocery shopping
Hmm.
and personal deliveries and medication pickups. And, so it
Yes.
definitely picked up for me during the pandemic. So I did see the benefits to that as well. And I think that was like the most I ever made was during the pandemic, was because
Yeah.
the demand was so high.
Yeah. Yeah, I think on the con side of things, there's some trickery in the apps that I used that if you're not educated about this truly being a business ownership and the difference between 1099 and W-2, like we talked about earlier, um, there's some risk for you as an individual if you're not conscious of those things that you might be working and losing money on a specific day because these apps will tell you you need to keep your acceptance rate up, which is deceptive. That's not even like a legal thing they can do. They give you like a rating and they're
Mhm.
trying to encourage you to keep your rating above a certain level. And we as gig workers have the option to deny an order. We don't have to take them. There's legal precedent there. So DoorDash should try to send, these $2.50 deliveries to go 5 miles. That 5 miles would cost me, if we look at that tax expensive mileage, 50 cents a mile. Suddenly, 5 miles at 50 cents a mile, that's 250. I'm going to be delivering for $0. But in the app, they are literally saying, like, here's your acceptance rate. Remember, keep your acceptance rate up. And it's some trickery to get the drivers continuing to go. So I think, in my opinion, that's kind of BS. Pardon my I think that's French.
Go
I
ahead.
just
Go ahead,
it's
girl.
just it's deceptive. They're saying like, we need you to, you got to be committed and you got to take all the orders, when the truth is that if you decline a bunch of those junky orders, the ones that aren't going to make you any money, you you can get to the ones where it's obvious, okay, $10 to go 2 miles, that's profitable. And so they don't. tell you that it's okay to decline orders. They try to trick you into believing that you must. And they might have some kind of reward if you take more orders. So they're trying to get you to play in this contest of get this ranking with us and we'll send you the best orders. And I just didn't see that at the time. Maybe it's changed to be true in my experience. It didn't matter if I declined 20 orders. The next time an order came in that was really profitable and I was by that profitable order, they pinged me to take the task.
Yeah, I noticed that too, particularly with well, and pretty much all of the apps I did, like particularly TaskRabbit, like there's metrics,
Mm-hmm.
um and I don't know if it's changed now. It's been a couple of years, but it was like color coded metrics, and if you did a certain number of tasks every month, you would be in the green, right? And if you were declining a lot more than what they would like, you would be in the yellow. And if you like really decline, you would be in the red, in danger of being kicked off the app. And so it's like they're incentivizing you to work more, and the more you work, the more tasks that you get. So it is also the algorithm as well, and I noticed that as well. The less you work, the less tasks that you get. So
Yep.
it is kind of deceptive in that way. And I guess as a business standpoint, I do kind of get it. Like you want the people that will work more. Um, so I do kind of see that, but then you have people like ready to work and willing to work, and they're not getting work in the apps. And I've also noticed that as well. Like there'll be periods where I'll put myself as available and nothing. It's like crickets. So
Yeah, and I think I the thing that's not known is that it's not legal for these organizations to force us to take orders, meaning they can't deactivate you from a platform for declining 100 out of 100 orders. It's against the law for them to do that because you are not an employee. And so they can have standards of performance. They can say you can only be a supplier because technically we're contracted to be a supplier. Like you can only be a supplier if you have a customer satisfaction rating of this to this range. They can have like acceptable supplier requirements, but they can't force us as suppliers to take orders that are not profitable for us as independent business owners. Um, they can have standards. So on-time deliveries is a standard, on-time task completion, those are all things that technically could get us kicked off the platform if we don't do it right, and we don't meet the standards. But accepting orders is not something that they can kick us off for.
hmm, I guess we should have a conversation with them about that. So now, I also want to reference something you said earlier. You said that you multi-apped. You did
I
more than
did.
one app at the same time,
Yep.
and I noticed that's a pretty common thing too. Like particularly with like Uber and Lyft. If you like, I always observed it when I got in an Uber, and the driver has Uber, they have Lyft, they have Juno, they have like, 3 to 5 different taxi
Mhm.
apps open all at the same time, and you see like 5 different phones. And so I noticed that's also a common thing as well, that
Yeah.
people multi-app.
Yeah. I did, as a way to maximize what I was earning every day. So if I was planning to work that day, I'm available on Shipt and I can review, I can be on the schedule to take orders from Shipt and I can review those. And then I if I don't have a shop scheduled, I can turn on DoorDash and let orders come in for that. Or even if I'm on a Shipt, like sometimes Shipt was a liquor store and you're like picking up a bottle of whiskey. There's like 5 restaurants right by there. I
Mm,
might turn on DoorDash or Grubhub or both and be like, "Okay, well, I'm at Liquor Boy,
mm,
and there's a Panera here, there's an Arby's here, there's a Roadie Mediterranean here. There's some good restaurants right by there that have decent order volume and value. I'm like, okay, well, let me see if I get an order. And sometimes I'd be picking up that bottle of whiskey and I'd get a DoorDash ping asking me to pick up Panera and it happened to be on the way. Heck, I'll take them both. And then I'm kind of doubling my money on the same route, which was
So
super cool.
so you didn't have any issues um with, I mean, the constant driving. So of course you're constantly paying for oil and gas and the wear on your tires. Like you were okay with all that.
Yeah, I have a car that was paid in full for and gets decent gas mileage, around 30 miles per gallon, and my insurance is pretty affordable. And I had low miles. So I was okay with putting the wear and tear on my car. And I knew that the mileage deduction, obviously, I'm getting kind of compensated for that in a way. The mileage deduction is intended to cover gas and standard, typical wear and tear repairs on a vehicle. And so I was prepared to do that. I did need to buy new tires and I did need to get my brakes done. And yes, regular oil changes for sure. But yeah, I was okay with it. I think had I had, I kind of look back, I'm like, man, I should have got an EV, right? And had like 300 miles that like I just that would have reduced the expenses even more because regardless of what kind of vehicle you're driving, you still get that mileage deduction. So yeah, I didn't have a problem with it. And multi-apping, if you can do it, like I was being really strategic about it, right? I would look at the order, I'd be like, okay, is that on the way to where I'm going? And you have to make really quick decisions if you're multi-apping, like, can I call it order stacking, right? Can I do multiple orders here? And if so, then I might have a grocery store delivery order that's paying me $20 and a food delivery order that's paying me 10, and I get to kind of do both at the same time, which keeps me earning more so I'm available to take the next order. But it had to make sense. I mean, you don't want to take someone's hot food and drive like 5 miles out of the way to go drop off somebody's bottle of whiskey and then their food gets cold. You got to think about, what the customer experience is going to be too. But if you can do it, if it's on the route, if it's on the way and it's not going to disrupt the service to the customer, go make your money. It's the best way to make the most money.
And you were strategic too, because when I did Postmates, like you never knew where the drop off was. Like, okay, you knew the restaurant, but like you never knew where the customer lived until you picked up
Oh.
the food. So then
Oh,
you were like, oh, I went off it was always a surprise,
they didn't
you know?
show you?
No.
So so DoorDash, Grubhub, and Shipt all either they have it like on the map. You don't actually get the address, but they have a map that you can look at. And I grew up where I'm working, right? So I know this is my city. Like I know this place. And so I could see like an intersection and be like, okay, I know exactly where that is, or I could zoom in and have a pretty good idea. Are they close enough? Grubhub's map is a little deceptive. They make everything look like this close, and sometimes it's really that far away. But for the most part, they gave me enough information, which is critical to be able to make that decision. If you had no idea where the drop off is, how do you know do they tell you at least how many miles you're driving?
Yeah, like so after you pick up
Okay.
the food, then they say, oh, so and so's over here and is this many miles away. And I'm like, oh, okay.
So you
Um,
didn't get to see the mileage before you accepted the order.
no.
Oh.
I mean, it's like it also depends on where you are, because in the busier city areas,
Yeah, it's not gonna be
people
far.
people tend to be close, like they tend to live close to the restaurant.
Yeah.
So, that's a good like guesstimate there.
Mhm.
But like when you have more like suburbia, they tend to live a little farther away. And um so so they don't tell you up front. I mean, then again, that was years ago. I don't know if they changed
Right,
that
maybe they do now. Yeah.
but people would reject more too, so I don't know if they would.
Mhm.
But yeah, like you don't really know you're going until you get the food, and then it's like, oh, you're gonna have to travel so and so. And then again, depending on where you were, but I hated it when I got the apartments that don't have elevators and they live like 4 flights up, and then it's like, oh my god. And I most of the time I would call the people and be like, "Can you come down and get the
Me
food?"
levy, right? Time is money. Like, I gotta get my next order,
Like,
come on.
no.
Yes, yes. Yeah, I mean, that was, like, one of the good things about the pandemic is, like, people got real used to telling their delivery driver to just leave the food at the door. I don't wanna see you, I don't wanna breathe on you, I don't wanna be breathed on. Oh, I got used to actually not handing the food to people or the groceries even were getting left on the doorstep.
Yeah, yeah. So, like, you never knew whether it was an apartment or a
Mm.
house, or if they had stairs or an elevator, like, so
Yeah,
whenever
some of it's learned, like, trial by try. Um, I remember going to this one apartment building that had no elevator and, like, there was no key code and, like, the person's not answering and, like, I gotta get to the next thing that I'm on the schedule for, and I'm waiting to figure out how to get into a building, and I have no idea where they live because they didn't give me an apartment number, and they're not answering. Super frustrating.
it is.
Rare, but frustrating. Yeah, but I would figure, I'd start to figure out like on the map, like, okay, I've been there 50 times. That's that one building. It's a no for me. I'm not taking that order.
Oh man. So now, are you currently doing that work now?
Nah. No, no, now I'm fully like you, like I'm in my dream. It was the perfect bridge to be able to give me this space emotionally to really commit to what I'd already started as an entrepreneur and kind of process the experience I had with not succeeding on this one, you know, my first year went good, but then the second 6 months it was just like a lot of lessons learned about just client acquisition and how I'm spending my time and staying focused on the things that are going to bring me new customers and allow me to do new value. And I actually discovered in that process I used to be a recruiter, and that was like my much of my career. And in this doing gig work, and I had a coach, and um, in doing all this, I had this space then to create. I had this vision of creating a coaching platform, initially thinking career coaching because 20 years as a recruiter, I know how to teach people how to, resume, interview, all that. But I don't like writing resumes. Let's be real. So all this time doing gig work allowed me to have, because like I said earlier, it's a job that you just go, you do the thing, you go home. It wasn't taking a lot of emotional capacity for me unless it was a super stressful, over busy day. But for the most part, I'm, like I said, listening to my favorite podcasts and audiobooks and just learning and then dreaming,
Yeah.
dreaming about the future. What am I creating? Who do I want to help? How am I uniquely qualified to help people? And just coming home feeling so excited by all my own ideas that I'd get to writing a workbook and get to creating an offer. So no, I'm a life coach and a podcast host, and I do that full time.
Would you ever go back to it?
Heck yeah. I mean, if I needed some supplemental income quick, or I needed a cash infusion for any reason, I would. Um, I think I'm at a point now where I don't see that as a necessity, but there's nothing beneath me. I'll shovel dirt if I have to keep, to keep self-employed. Like I just don't. I learned, in this healing process I went through from an addiction, I learned, the corporate environment's just not for me. I don't want to assimilate. I don't want to be what someone else expects me to be all the time. Use the right jargon, show up someone else. I want to show up as me all the time. And I've found what's true for me thus far is there's very few organizations where I can go work. I can think of one who would, it's almost gig work to work with her and partner on recruiting stuff. But I can only really think of that one organization where I felt like being myself wholly without having to wear some mask for the working world or for the benefit of the shareholders. Like I just would rather be self-employed and choose what I do and how I make my money any day over going back to that.
Yeah, it's that's another interesting thing. It's like I feel like I'm a free bird. I don't think I would. I did the 9 to 5 stuff. I didn't really like it. I think I've been out of that game for like 5-6 years. So to go back now would be like, ugh, like icky. And
And
it's
it's go ahead, sorry.
yeah, yeah, and it's like I think I got so used to, waking up when I wanted to and going to bed when I wanted to and just working when I wanted, how I wanted. I think I got so used to having my own schedule that to go back to that rigid schedule now would just be like so out of place.
Yeah. Yeah, and I just yes, that's that, and it's so many other things too, but I just value my freedom so much now. And the other thing that was true for me when I was working in corporate environments is I always felt like if I expressed an opinion about anything, frankly, on LinkedIn, that like my employer would be watching that or that it would affect what other people thought of the employer. And I found myself really quieting my own voice, just to keep up appearances for perception of the organization. And that's my baloney that I had to work through how not to do that. But there tends to be some perceived expectation, if you will, about how you behave in public spaces as a representative of an organization.
Right, right. So you always have to think about the company's reputation,
Yeah.
when you're working for them. But when you're working for yourself, well, if it's your own business, right? You just think about your own reputation. You don't
Yeah.
have that pressure.
Yeah, and I have this belief like the people who are meant to find me and like me and trust me to work with them, they will. And the ones who aren't, that's okay. Like it's not, not everybody's for everybody. But I just found for me that the corporate environment, the structure of that, the rigidity of that, like you said, it's just not for me. And I appreciate so much the people who it served me well for a really, really long time to have the steady income and the benefits paid for by the employer and the predictability of it. But there was something really constraining about it where I didn't feel like I belonged and I didn't feel like I was accepted wholly. Not that that was the truth, but it's just
Mhm.
where I was emotionally. That now I'm like this, like I get to be me all the time. And it's pretty cool.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. All right, we're gonna start to wind down now. So, do you have any words of wisdom you'd like to share? Any parting words that you'd like to share with our audience?
Yeah, I'd say two things. One, if you are considering gig work, like just try it. Just try it out and be patient with yourself in the first few weeks. Think like a business owner and make sure that those drives you're taking, those tasks you're taking are going to be profitable enough to help you achieve the financial goals that you have. And if not, turn on another app. And I'd say the other thing would be um, tip your gig workers. If you order, you might notice if you order and you don't add a tip on the front end, it takes a really long time for your order to get accepted. And that's because the best drivers out there are not taking orders that don't include tips. So if somebody's out there doing a service for you that you don't have the time to do, trade some of your dollars for their time. They're doing something that's important to you, which is grabbing a meal, grabbing groceries, or getting a task done for you. The gig companies are not paying them well. They're paying them a very, very low amount of money. So I don't think enough people know that. So if you're ordering, tip, tip, tip.
Awesome, awesome. Well, thank you so much for that advice. And now let's get to your promo. All right, you guys. So Terra Carbert is all over the web, you guys. You can go to her website, www.theselfdiscoverysisterhood.com. She loves that Facebook, I see. She has a personal Facebook page, she has a Facebook group and a Facebook page. The account is Self Discovery Sisterhood. She also has a Facebook page and an Instagram for Ambitious Addicts Podcast, which is for her podcast. So I encourage you to go to all of her handles, all of her accounts, and follow her on everything, right? So follow her on her Facebook group, her two Facebook pages, and Instagram. So I encourage you to go and follow her right now. Do you want to talk about your business, Sarah?
Sure. Well, like I was experimenting with gig work, I'm doing a little bit of the same with social media. So, we were talking before we hopped on here about how the social media is kind of messy. I don't care. Like, go check it out. I'm under construction on a couple things. If you join the Facebook group, the Self Discovery Sisterhood, I'm sure you understand what sisterhood means, but it's a women only space. And what I mean by women is those who identify with the gender of female and or the energy of feminine. And if you join that group, there is a freebie that you'll get, which will give you an opportunity to explore where you might have opportunities to love yourself a little bit more. You'll get a quick video that shows me doing a workshop with a couple of people who are really vulnerable with me. And you get some worksheets that'll help you identify some areas in your life where you might be able to expand how much you love yourself. So I'd say if you're going to do anything, that one is the one that will help you the most. I've got coaches coming in there every week to teach on self-care and fitness and finding balance and productivity and all the things. So that's a great resource that you can get for free.
Awesome, awesome. And I think this is the promo, right? The freebie that you were talking about.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm just going to read the promo Sisterhood Facebook community to get a free self love assessment tool to help you uncover what's standing between you and fully loving yourself. So you get a freebie when you join the Facebook group, right?
That's it. I'm still working on how to set that up as an automation, but it's all ready to go. I got the worksheets and the video recorded.
All right. So when you go to Facebook, so it's for the anyone who identifies as 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 female, right? So for the ladies out there, go join her Facebook group, Self Discovery Sisterhood. That's the name of the group. So when you go to the Facebook group and you join it, right, you will get a free gift, the free self love assessment tool. So you get a nice little freebie there. So I encourage you to join that group so you could get that freebie. All right. And
Yeah.
last thing, you have a podcast. Tell us about your podcast.
Yes, that podcast is I'm a person with lived experience in gambling addiction, and I've been in recovery since July of 2016. And I host a podcast called Ambitious Addicts where I do a little bit of talking about my own recovery experience, a little bit of coaching, and I bring on all sorts of women in recovery who have overcome an addiction, all addictions, all pathways to healing, and they're spreading a little experience, strength, and hope with the world. So if you could use the company of some powerful women in recovery in your ears, listen to the Ambitious Addicts podcast.
And where can people listen to the podcast?
All the places. And yeah, Apple, iTunes, Audible, Spotify. It's if the computer systems are working right, it's in all the places. If you go to find it and you cannot find it, go ahead and just shoot me a DM on Facebook and I will get you a direct link.
All
And
right.
you've got the direct link there that goes to the podcast host page where you can
Yes.
see I spelled ambitious wrong. But it's
Oh,
right. It's right. No, you have it right. When I set it up, I did it wrong and like released an episode and I was like, wait, that's wrong. And I'm like, whatever. Like it still goes all the places. It still has the right title for the outside world. But I can't, it's a big pain to change it once you've set it up. So I just left it with
oh
the title.
no. All right. So I'm just going to read the link out for our audio listeners. It is ambitiousaddicts.libsyn.com. She spelled ambitious wrong. So let me just make sure to. So I will spell it out by letter AMBITIUOSADDICTS.libsyn.com. So yeah, so want to put point that out there. Ambitious is spelled wrong. I think she just swapped the I and the U. All right, so but it is out there. So but the name of the podcast it's spelled correctly, right? It's just the link.
And if you just Google it, you'll find it.
All right, so the podcast is out there wherever you get your podcasts, and it is called Ambitious Addicts. So I encourage you to download her podcast and listen to those episodes and get in touch with our podcast. And the podcast is on Instagram and Facebook as well. So if you want to join the community involving her podcast, I encourage you to that, join the Facebook page and the Instagram account. Well, not the Instagram account, but follow her on Instagram as well.
Yeah. Yeah. And maybe I'll post there. I'm figuring it all out. Yeah, it's so fun though. It's fun
Yes.
watching you do what you're doing. I appreciate everything you're doing, and thank you so much for having me come on and talk gig work. It was a really important way for me to stay committed to my goals. If I didn't have gig work, I probably would still be in a cubicle somewhere.
Mm. As of with a lot of people, who
Mhm.
do that kind of work. But yes, you guys, so all of our information is scrolling below at the bottom of the screen for my video people. But for my audio people, I didn't forget about you. All this information is in the description. So, one way or another, however you are taking in this episode, her information is available. I will share her website one more time. It is www.theselfdiscoverysisterhood.com, and she is all over Facebook and Instagram. So I encourage you to follow her today. All right, Tara, thank you so much for joining me today. It
Thank you.
was awesome.
Yeah, it was fun. It's fun watching you do this Hot Topics podcast. I'll be tuning in even more and seeing the things you cover. I'll be excited to hear this topic come up again and get some other perspectives.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you for that. All right, I'm going to place you backstage now.
Bye.
All right, you guys. And it is just you and me. Let me get up my banner. All right, you guys. So we have reached the conclusion of yet another episode. Thank you so much for joining me today. I think this is the fourth season. I want to say episode 9. So I think we're 159 episodes in. I want to say, so it's definitely been a journey. And thank you guys for joining me on the journey, whether you've been with me already or you are new, but thank you for joining me on this journey today. All right. So let me do my closing now. All right. So, as a reminder, this podcast, Hot Topics, is a production of A Step Ahead Tutoring Services. So, if you are looking for tutoring services, whether for your child or for yourself, you have someone, your child, for example, is struggling with homework help or time management, or, they're not turning in their homework on time. We have heard it all. So, whatever it is, please reach out to us. Our information is scrolling below at the bottom of your screen. Oh, excuse me, if you are watching this on video. But if you are listening on audio, I did not forget about you guys. The information is in the description. But I will say our website, it is www.astepaheadtutoringservices.com. You can also find us on multiple social media places. You can find us on Twitter with the handle ASATS 2013. We're on Eventbrite and WhatsApp. Just type in A Step Ahead Tutoring Services. We are on Facebook and Instagram as well. Just type in A Step Ahead Tutoring Services. And we're also on YouTube as well. Just type in A Step Ahead Tutoring Services. So just wherever, not wherever, let me think of my words. Right. So we're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Eventbrite, WhatsApp, and YouTube. So just type in A Step Ahead Tutoring Services and we will pop up right there. Just look for the pencil with the twisted tip and you will find us there. So, whoopsie. So I encourage you to follow us on all of our social media accounts. Stay in touch with us. I will also give you our email as well. It is success at a step ahead tutoring services.com. So shoot us an email if you want to reach out to us. You could also call us on numbers, call or text us. Our number is 347-762-2838. So I encourage you to reach out to us today. And anyway, if you are looking for a tutor for your child or even for yourself, we also work with adults. Reach out to us today. I will give you that website again, where all of this information is there. The website is www.astepaheadtutoringservices.com. I will also share this last thing. So, hot topics, we have a text blast. I encourage you to get on that blast. So, just text the code hot topics to 917. It's a different phone number now, so pay attention. It's 917 764 3975. Again, just text the code hot topics to 917 764 3975. You will learn about upcoming episodes, the live episodes, the audio releases, anything and everything to do with hot topics. Join that text blast today. It is only for the US and Canada. So if you happen to be one of our international listeners, shoot us an email. Let us know that you want to get on the blast. Again, the email is success at a stepaheadtutoringservices.com. Whew, I said a mouthful and now I am done. All right, you guys, thank you so much for joining me today. Please join us at the next episode. Thank you guys again. I am signing off now. Bye, you guys.